All right, well, let's officially start. Welcome, everybody, to PCS Bootcamp 2023. I'm excited. This year, for those who've been to previous boot camps, each and every year, we switch it up, right? So we switch up the swag, we switch up how we do it, we switch up some of the topics. And we just switch up everything, a lot of things that we do, right? So this year, I wanted this to be more of a mastermind feel, but I want us to walk away with some strategic marketing, branding, advertising, and organic YouTube growth, right? So the reason I wanted us to do that is because a lot of times we want to share what we know with the world, right? And we want people to know us, love us, trust us, like us. But the problem is we're not always able to give the exposure that we want to give to the world, right? Of what we have. So this year with AI, which is super huge, and a lot of especially, let me just stick on AI for a second. With AI, what's going to happen is, and I've been yelling about this probably for the last, at least since this year, I've been yelling about it, where there's going to be way more people online producing content, right? And if you've been joining any of my trainings, I've been talking a lot about like how to use AI in your marketing or in your advertising and different things of that nature. So what's going to happen is, let's say, I'll just throw out a number. Let's say 100 million people. We know there's billions of people on social media. Let's just say 100 million people are using these artificial intelligent solutions, right? Well, what does that mean? It's already hard to get. Anybody feel like right now it's even hard to like stand out online with the algorithms and all of that?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So imagine how much harder it's going to be when you got 100 million more people producing content on a weekly basis. Now their output is 3 times. Maybe they're doing 3 times more posts, 4 times more posts, 5 times more posts, right? Imagine how much harder it's going to be for you to stand out moving forward. So the reason why we made the theme of the boot camp this year really about marketing and promoting your business is because this is the perfect time right now to position yourself. You don't want to wait 1, 2, 3 years and then try to catch up with all of this. Be advanced with AI. And know what's working with YouTube growth. Know what's working, even just coming to an event, networking, shaking hands, like understand how that's going to be able to grow your business. You know what I mean? So that's why we decided to do it this year, and I'm excited because I want us to specifically have things you can walk away with and literally like implement like tomorrow. Like that's really what I want us to be able to do. So y'all excited about that?
Yes.
All right. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, right? So we're going to be focused on, and maybe I feel we see things move this up a little bit, right? Cool. All right. So this is going to be, I'm going to teach y'all how to. This is session number 1. Session number 1, and session number 1 is going to be creating I'm going to teach you how to create a successful certification program, coaching certification program, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about certifications. What's great about the certifications is that when you create, and there's a difference between creating a certification program and just having a regular program, author program, teaching the kids, youth, parents, teachers, whatever it is. What's great about it is that when you create a certification program does not have to be regulated through the government or through the state. I would say within maybe like the last 2 to 3 years, we've consulted over 2,000 different experts in many different niches, dozens and dozens and dozens of niches. I can tell you there's a certain percentage of people that think that they can't create a certification program, or they think that, oh, for me, I have to be part of a certification program. So the very first thing to understand is that a certification program is not regulated through the government, but then also it actually helps you with partnerships. So like if you go into a school, for example, and you say, I have a certification program that you could put your teachers through, and these teachers will learn how to do X with the kids. They will learn how to, because you're not in the schools every day, right? Like I just spoke at my high school a couple weeks ago, and if I had a certification program for teachers, but I would have enrolled them in it and said, hey, listen, I'm not here with them every day. I can't come back and speak every week. I know we're not going to do an assembly every week. Let's just be real. However, this is what we can do. Maybe about twice a month. How about you get your staff and your teachers, get your counselors on put them through my certification, and what that's going to do is that's going to teach them on topics 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the reason I'm saying that this is important is because when you have a certification program, established businesses and entities are more willing to do partnerships with you. Right? If you say, because that's something that people understand. Sometimes everybody doesn't even understand a coaching program, to be real. Like some people, a lot of people think that it's like, oh, too much sports, right? Right? That's usually what they think, right? Like, okay, sport with coach, basketball, which one are you? Right? But now since it's become more widespread, people are more aware to it, but at the same time, you have an easier shot when you want to go to maybe some of these nonprofit organizations and then say, hey, listen, this is what you have. I think your people going through this will be helpful. Like I'll give you an example. So anybody here familiar with ICF, International Coaching Federation? You ever heard of that? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, I've heard of that. You've heard of that, right? That's the largest, if not one of the largest nonprofit coaching certification programs on the planet right now, right? So I was just, I want to say maybe within the last 2 weeks, I was talking to the CEO. She's out in India, right? And as I was mentioning her, we was just, this is the power of LinkedIn too. I need to be on LinkedIn, right? So I was messaging her through LinkedIn because I get a lot of people who come through PCS from ICF, but they still don't know how to market their business. They still don't know how to advertise. They still don't know about content. They know how to help people and teach people what they do, but they still need to, they still need help. And that's and by the way, shout out to ICF. That ain't, you know what I mean? Shout out to ICF. But however, but what I'm saying is that they still need to learn how to market and get clients. So I was having a conversation with her, and I was letting her know. I said, hey, I have a certification program that I know you send them through one certification program, which I think is maybe about a weekend. But I said, why don't you send them through my certification program as well, where they can learn the business side of it, right? They can learn the social media marketing, they can learn lead generation, they can learn advertising, they can learn these different social media networks and social media platforms to be able to live their vision and transform lives in the way they want to transform lives. So she said, that's a great idea. She said, I'm coming back from India in a couple weeks. She said, let's have a conversation.
Wow.
You feel what I'm saying, right? So now, at some point, who knows, maybe this year or at some point, folks who come through this program, you might get ICF credits if you want to go through this certification. But that's the power of having, when you have something like that, you have more leverage and people will be more interested in it, right? Now, this is not something, you ain't got to go through the DMV, you don't got to do nothing crazy. What makes it a certification program is the fact that you put people through assessments and tests. Write that down, assessments and tests. We're going to talk about that because I'm getting ready to go through the points, right? That's the difference, because there's many programs out there where coaching programs, subscriptions, memberships, where they want you to make progress, but at the end of the day, you got a start date, you got an end date, and you don't make it during that time, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it's recurring, but there's no expectation or outcome that you're going to have at the end of your program, at the end of that program. But your certification, when they're done, or when they pass these certain levels, similar to school, when they pass these certain levels, guess what? They get the certification, whatever that looks like. And we'll talk about the different ways you could present somebody with a certification. But that's what it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But you can make, there's a lot of potential for revenue. It's a lot of potential to get clients. And it's a lot of potential to do partnerships with certifications. And people, when they hear that word, their ears perk up. You know, me and Glassstein have a very similar background. My background, for those who don't know, is cybersecurity, right? So in the cybersecurity world, we outside of your degrees, it's certifications, right? And so they're looking at what certifications you got. And if you ain't got certain certifications, they don't even want to have a conversation with you. I can't even talk to you, you know, because you have improved proficiency in a certain area, right? Mm-hmm. So that's really what a certification program is. You're proving your proficiency, you're proving your skill, and then we give you this check of approval, we give you the stamp, we give you the plaque, we give you the certificate, we give you at the end of it. Mm-hmm. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so let's do it. All right, let's do it. So number one. All right, number one. Number one is first thing we gotta have is objectives. And target, which means target audience. And by the way, I write like chicken scratch, so hopefully don't judge me for that, right? I know a lot, but I write.
It's in the family.
But I write, yeah. So and somebody too for our folks that are virtual, somebody could put that in the chat too, so everybody have it, right? Objectives and target audience. All right, so the very first thing, I'm gonna start with actually the target audience, right? So your target audience, for your target audience, it's always important to understand exactly who you're helping. And I know sometimes we hear this all of the time, like, know your niche audience, but it's always important because one, this could change at some point, right? And especially if you have different products or services, that could change. I'll give you a perfect example. So at the time we're doing this training right now, we also have a digital advertising agency right now, right? So where we run your Facebook ads, and then we also do your Facebook, YouTube, and then we're getting ready to launch LinkedIn in April, right? So Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn advertisements, right? Guess what? My audience right now are full of coaches and speakers, but I would say a majority, probably at least 80%, are folks who are really just getting started, right? Or maybe you've been in the game for a minute, you've been in the game for a few years, but you like, okay, I'm still really trying to figure out the monetization part of it, right? So you're still trying to get to your first 5K a month, 10K a month, 15, 20K a month, right? So with that being said, sometimes, not all the time, not in all cases, but sometimes we got to figure out, okay, well, who's my new audience for, let's say, for this agency now, right? So because you got to be able to afford ad spend, right? So ad spend could be $500 a month, $1,000, $2,000, right? $3,000. I got a lady that I'm getting ready to bring on board, and I said, how much you want to start off with ad spend per month? She said 10K is fine. 10K a month, start off the rip off ad spend, right? To generate leads, she has a high ticket program, right? And she does funding and things of that nature, right? So for businesses, for small businesses. But I understand that my agency, although I'm gonna get folks who are like, yo, listen, I can afford to do ads right now, who are still at the beginning stages. From a targeting perspective, I gotta say, okay, who's gonna be most likely to be able to afford it, and who's gonna understand it? Because I don't want to convince anybody. I'm not convincing anybody, and I don't want us to convince anybody about how important your program or your certification program is, right? You want people who already understand it. If they already understand it, that's something to write down too. People who already understand it. So your target is the first thing. Objectives. So you have your program, right? So the objectives of your program is what? When somebody signs up for your program, you gotta have an end result or outcome that you're giving them. That end result or outcome is based on the objectives to get them there. So for example, so I'll give this to you. So let's say for us, right? So we have a PCS certification program, right? Shout out to our PCS members.
PCS, let's go.
Right, so
come on.
So think about, we have what we call the PCS map, right? Y'all are familiar with it. So the PCS map, guess what? Those are my objectives for you, right? My objective is, one, you got to create your program. Most people just, they sound good, they know how to talk, but they don't know how to create their program. So like, you have to put that together. So one of my objectives is create your program, right? And we walk you through it. We walk you through exactly what you need to do to create your program. So that's objective number one, right? And I'm showing you how to think through your own objectives for your own program, for your own certification program. Objective number two is you got to build it, because a lot of it is just on paper initially, right? It's just on your, on your iPad initially. So for us, I'm thinking through, okay, I said, well, once they understand who they're helping, they understand essentially their business model and their business plan, what else do they need? Well, they got to create it. Where are you hosting your courses at? How are people accessing your worksheets? How are people, so I have to think through, okay, so the second objective is we got to put the program together. So that's the second thing. Okay, well, what's the third thing they need to know? Well, you got to be an authority in what you do. So if you're an authority, hey, shout out to Evan, hey! All right. So number three, yeah, we good. So number three for me is, okay, they have to be an authority in what you do. So what that means, social media, right? So you have to learn social media. And I'm not going to go through the whole process, but you get what I'm saying, right? What are the objectives of your program? Okay? If we have more time, maybe one day I'll turn this into like a 2-3 day event, right? And it'll get crazy, so we can actually do these exercises. Because if y'all with me long enough, y'all know we always do the exercises, but because we have limited time and we got speakers, I'm gonna be respectful. So, but that's number one: objectives and targets. Make sense? All right. All right. Number two. Everybody on the live stream got it? You good? Got thumbs up? All right. All right. Number two. Number two is develop. Let me make sure I spell it. I always feel like I spell this word wrong. Curriculum. Oh. Always feel like I spell it wrong. All right. So number two is to develop your curriculum. Develop your curriculum. Right. So there's a difference between I know the steps and the levels that people need to go through in terms of my objectives and what my actual curriculum is for my certification program, right? So your curriculum is, okay, well, what are the steps that they need to do? So for example, if I'm saying one of my objectives for you is to create your program. Well, what is the curriculum that you need to learn? Well, you need to learn, what are you teaching people? So basically, what are you teaching people step by step? You might need your curriculum might be, and actually, so if we look inside we have the playbook, right? Your curriculum is exactly what you're teaching them step by step, but these create the objectives, if that makes sense, right? So if I'm saying that I need you to get clients, let's say, all right, one of your objectives is I want you to walk away with, 5 clients by the end of the program, by the end of the curriculum, I want you to walk away with 5 clients. Well, what do they need to know in the curriculum in order to do that? That's what that means, right? So one, you might need to learn sales, right? You may need to know how to connect with people. You may need to know how to present. So there's certain things within your curriculum you need to know how to have or display or showcase your credibility. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what is your curriculum of what you're teaching people? What are they going to go through? What are the steps?
What they need to learn to meet the objectives.
Exactly. What do they need to learn? All right, number 3. And then we'll take some questions afterwards. All right, number 3. All right, this is program requirements. Program requirements. If somebody put that in the chat. Program requirements. Program requirements. You could think about that as like the deliverables, right? But the deliverables that they need to consume, right? So your requirements is, so let's say you come through my certification program. My requirement for you is that you show up every week. We have a 12-week program. Start, finish, you get your certification. My requirement for you is I need you to show up to the weekly sessions. My requirement for you is I need you to do the worksheets that we give you for each and every step within the curriculum of what you need to know. Your skill development, right? Your curriculum is part of helping them develop skills, So I need you to do that. What else? We're also going to provide you with a one-on-one tutor or one-on-one coach or one-on-one mentor. I need you to meet with them every week, right? So what are the requirements of your program? Or you can think about it as deliverables, if that also helps. But I say deliverables, but I say requirements versus deliverables because and specifically I'm changing it because of the certification piece of it. Because deliverables are, oh, this is what you have access to. Do what you want. Like you have access to it, but you can access it if you want. Requirements are, I need you to do this. I need you to fill out these worksheets. I need you to join these calls if you want to get this result. I need you to go through these steps in order to get these results. So it's more of the things that you really need them to do. I need you to meet with your mentors and your coaches. So that's 3. And if you have any additional, if y'all want to go deep on this, by the way, I'm gonna give y'all some resources to at some point, probably midway and maybe somewhere towards the end, I'll give y'all resources to learn. This is really to give you the understanding of it so you can go out and you can at least get your hands dirty. This is not meant for in-depth training, right? Like I said, it'll have to be like 3 days for us to really like dive deep and specific, what you want your worksheets to look like, what you want this, that. That's a whole separate training that we can do afterwards. Y'all can just hit me up if y'all want to do something like that, all right? So that's number 3. Number 4. All right, this is one of my favorite ones right here. Assessments and evaluation. There you go. Assessments and eval. These assessments and evaluation. This is one of the cornerstones, if not the key cornerstone to a certification program. This is what separates regular programs from, all right, you want to create your own certification program. So when we created the PCS program, originally it was not called the PCS certification program. Originally it was just called the PCS program, right? But we changed it to PCS certification, and one of the biggest things I had on my mind is, okay, well, if it's going to be a certification, well, what do they need? What do they need to do or satisfy in order for them to achieve that? So again, going back to the cybersecurity examples, right? So in order for us, they have all different types of, like, if you want to be a coder. I realized early on that I didn't want to be a coder in college. I thought I liked coding, right? Because I did something in high school one time, and it was like, basic, like kind of HTML, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I can change the colors on a web page. I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm thinking like, this is cool. But then I realized that when I got to college, and I took a it's a programming language called C++, right? You know about that, right?
Yeah. That was that barrier at the end.
Right. That was like the entry. Now, I mean, there's so many more programming languages, but that was just like one, right? So I realized quickly, I'm like, I don't know if y'all can tell I'm a social person, right? So I don't know if I can sit here for hours and hours and hours in front of a screen looking through code. I'm like, I can't see it. And I realized that wasn't the lane I wanted to go in, right? Yeah. But however, there was other lanes in cybersecurity that I said, okay, I'm not going to get certification in that, but you know what? There's other lanes, right? And that's when I decided to, I got a master's degree in project management. And I realized, okay, I like that. I'm dealing with people, I'm dealing with stakeholders, we talking money, we drive into a specific end goal. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, I know that's what I really want. But the point of it is that each and every one of those certifications, you gotta go through assessments and you gotta go through evaluations. So think about for your own program, okay, well, what assessments or evaluations can they go through to make it a certification program? And if you already have your program, literally, you can make it into a certification program in a couple hours by really just thinking through what are the assessments and the evaluations. That's all it really is. So what does that look like? So, for example, one of the things for us is, okay, well, you got to create your program. If you never get around, or if you're too busy, or if something happens or whatever, and you never get around to actually creating it, then you're not going to get the certification. If part of it is you got to prove proficiency, you got to prove that your product or service works, right? Not just that you think it works, or maybe it worked for you a couple times, but you got to prove that it works, right? So there's a part of it where you have to apply the information to get clients, and then get clients' results, right? Mm-hmm. So that's part of the assessment and evaluation. So you have to think about for your own program, well, what would they have to know? Or like, what would they have to, what kind of skill set would they have to be able to prove to me to say, you've acquired that skill set? So that's what assessment and evaluations are. Y'all following along? Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Or y'all, I'm boring y'all.
No.
No, we good. We good. We good.
All right, cool. And then number 5. All right, so this is, I'm gonna add a bonus, but I'm gonna say policies and procedures. Yo, you know what's so crazy? I don't see anybody talking about this in our space, like policies and procedures. Like one of the things that, and this is something that I had to learn through, you know, the school of hard knocks, and I'm sure, you know, Evan Carmichael knows, and everybody who's been in this space knows, is that you really got to teach people how to do things, and like just from a like how to do business with you, right? Like you really got to teach people how to do business with you. Like go here, you know, you can't just call me all types of times of the day and night. You need to, you know, this is where you access the information. This is where you access the curriculum. It's just like, how do you treat your community? Because we don't accept everybody into our community. That's why somebody asked me one time. They said, Coach T, you know, why can't I just join your program through your website? Why do you think that is? Because right, assessment, but we're protecting our culture. You know what I'm saying? We don't just look at people as dollars or just making investments or just, but even if you got the money, but if you're not a right culture fit or if you don't have the right heart or intention. I'm gonna tell you, this came out a lot during the pandemic. I had a lot of people who wanted to get coaching, but when I would ask them questions, right? You know, if you ever, you know, joined the program, you know I probably spoke to you for a long time before you actually came, at least an hour or something, right? And I would ask you a million questions. And there was people that were saying, man, like, I just kind of lost my job and I'm just trying to make a couple quick dollars, you know what I'm saying? You know, just to kind of, you know, keep the lights on. And I said, I really appreciate you and I thank you for, you know, for seeing this as a great opportunity for you to be able to do that. But I said, I don't think this is going to be the right opportunity for you. And they looked up because, you know, they look kind of crazy because they're like, wow, don't you want to like take my money? Like I want to be like part of this, right? Because they tend to think that everybody, you know, when you new, you just want to get anybody, right? But when you seasoned, you're not worried about getting anybody, right? Everybody, you know, you want to get the right people. So, and I said the reason is because this program is more long term. Like I want to help people and I want to help experts who are going to be in this for the long term. Shout out to June Archer. So I want to help people who are in this for the long term. You know what I'm saying? Not people that are just in it just to kind of get a quick dollar because it was hot. Y'all remember everybody's coach. Everybody's like, oh, right? It's hot, right? But guess what? When the recession hit, now you see how many people go back into hiding. How many people you see posting now? How many people you see out there now? You don't see that many, right? So, because this is a long-term game. You know, one of the things that Tony Robbins said that I really like is he said people underestimate where they're going to be at in the next year, but he said they overestimate where they're going to be at in the next year. He said they underestimate where they're going to be at in the next decade. Yeah. And I always thought that was a dope quote because that means that your mind is already focused on I'm in this for a decade. Right? Mm-hmm. You got to be in this for a decade. So it's important that, just kind of bringing it all the way back, it's important that you bring the right people in that's going to follow your policies and your procedures in a way that is going to allow you to be able to conduct business properly. Right? Like I had to have a tough conversation with a client recently because there was certain things like, so. All right, let me back up. So, and I'm not going to say who the name is, but there's a client, and she said, I don't necessarily have the money to go through and do your full certification program. And I said, okay. I said that's fine. She said, but I really want your help. I really need it. And I said, okay. I said, well, I don't really do like individual ad hoc coaching. You know, I don't do hourly. You know, at first before I knew better, I'm like, you got to go through my program because I know how much more you need. So she said, but I really need it. I said, okay. So I gave her a very customized plan where I said, all right, we're going to meet X amount of times and it's going to be X amount of dollars for that. And she said, okay. But one of the things is because she didn't go through a normal channel, because if you go through the normal channel, you got to go through my assistant, you got to do this, you got to jump on onboarding calls, right? So we have certain policies and procedures that you need to follow in order to get the best result. But because I did something that was out of normally what we would do, she didn't get any of that. So what is she doing? Oh, I want you to reach out to me to do this. Can I do this? Let's jump on a call for that. And like it's becoming way more of a headache. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it 100 with you, right? It's becoming way more of a headache because she's not taking the normal channels that we normally do business, right? So you really got to pay attention to like, what are your policies and procedures for people? Like, what do you want them to do? Where are they going to log into? What times of the day do they have access to you, right? What do you need them to do? What do you need them to fill out? Whatever it is, like contracts, whatever it is, you got to make sure that you have that type. And there's no right or wrong, but you need to have it. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Look at that. All right. One more. Okay. And this is a bonus. And I didn't even put
I like
it on.
a bonus, yeah.
I'm gonna give y'all a bonus. Bonus number 6. Bonus number 6. All right. The bonus number 6 is you have to think about providing the certification. Right? Providing the certification. So what does that look like? There's different ways to certify people. Really what you're doing in addition to the certification, like whatever the tangible thing is you're giving them recognition. You know what I mean? You're giving them recognition for for achieving an outcome. Glassstein came to a PCS bootcamp that we did. I think it was the year of COVID. Actually, I think it was 2020. Right? I think when we did it, it just hit. Yeah, so we just made the boot camp, right? Because we just made it. Had I pushed it back a month, I would have had to cancel it because I was like at the height of everything. Yeah. Right? So but at that boot camp, you remember what we did? What did everybody get? Or what did certain people get?
Oh, certification.
They got the certification. Right? And what they did, they came up, we took pictures, we did everything, right? Everybody smiling, happy, they got it, and they proved proficiency in certain areas. Right? So how are you going to provide it? So there's a few different ways that I like. I mean, there's a million ways you can provide somebody with recognition. But one of the biggest ways is obviously doing through like a certificate. Right? So you can create a certificate. That's something easy that you can do on Canva, you can do it yourself, or you can go on Fiverr, you can hire somebody to create something that looks nice. Usually on your certification usually has the name of whatever your program is. So you can write that down. Mm-hmm. Name. It has their date. Usually it's like a graduation date or completion date. Right? And then it's going to have their name. Their name at the minimum, right? And then you can make it look cute. You want to add little flowers or whatever you want to do, right? You do whatever you want, right? But that's that. And then if you're providing them, that's digital. If you're providing them with a physical certification, then you want to think about the framing, right? What is the framing going to look like? But but you can literally do it in a way that's so creative and different. Anybody here follow Russell Brunson and know about like ClickFunnels? Anybody know about what ClickFunnels are? So I'm gonna tell you what they do. So ClickFunnels is so dope. So they have it where when you sign up for, it's a CRM system, right? Where they do landing pages and things like that. They create funnels, right? Where you have a certain set of landing pages when you go online, people opt in, right? So, and they have so they calculate how much money is processed through that when somebody makes sales, because they got sales pages, right? They got checkout pages. And they can calculate inside of ClickFunnels, just like Kajabi, if you're familiar with Kajabi, how it tells you how many people sign out, like how much money you've made. So their certification program is literally the amount of money that you made using their software. But guess what their certifications look like though? You've ever seen, I think we've all seen it before, like you ever seen like when a platinum artist wins and you get like this big plaque and have like a big record in the middle, right? That's what their certification looks like.
Wow.
That's dope. And then it glows. It like has like a halo around it. Right? It has like a halo around it, right? And but that's super dope. And I always thought that was creative because it makes people interested. You just want to have it. You're just like, oh wow, like this is just dope. Just taking a picture with it looks dope. You know what I mean? And then they have it for different levels of proficiency. You know, I think they have it like, you know, when you make 7 figures and when you make like 8 figures and things of that nature, right? I don't know if they have a 6-figure one, but I know they definitely have one for 7 and 8 figures, right? And then like, I think multiple 8 figures. So it's literally skies is the limit. So you could do kind of like the paper certification. We've all seen the wooden plaque. So you could do like a plaque certification. One of the other certifications we have is like a glass. Y'all ever seen like the something that could go like on your mantle, like a glass certification, right? Something that sits on, like the one that we have, like hot, like it glows, like different colors and different things of that nature, right? And it has the same information, everything. It has a name, completion date, everything on it. But I mention that because it's up to you on how you want to do it. Does that make sense? All right. So real quick, and then we're gonna break. Number 1. Objectives and targets. Be clear on who your certification is going to be for. It may not necessarily be the audience that you have now. Maybe it is, but it may not be, depending on what your new objectives are. Number 2, you got to develop the curriculum. What are they going to learn? What do they need to know? That's number 2. Number 3, what are the program requirements? What do they need to satisfy? What do they need to consume? Who do they need to meet? Program requirements. Assessments and evaluation is number 4. What assessments do they need to pass? What quizzes do they need to pass? What evaluations, what tests do they need to pass to prove a proficiency in skill? And one other thing too, your certification, I like certifications that are assessment and evaluation based, but you can also do one based on consumption, right? So if they're gonna consume, you might say, well, I might not do it based on that, but they have to consume, and I think ICF does this, where you have to consume, where you have to have a certain amount of coaching hours, right? Y'all seen certain programs like that where you have to have a certain amount of hours in order to satisfy some type of requirement. So you can do it that way too. And then 5 policies and procedures, right? Which is what we talked about. Make sure that they following your streamlined process. And then number 6, providing the certification.
All right.
Is that helpful?
All right.
All right. All right. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and that's going to conclude the first session. Real quick, does anybody have any questions? Maybe we'll take 1 or 2 questions because I know we waited a little bit. Does anybody have any questions based on creating your own certification program? And by the way, I wanted to start with this because the rest of the time is really going to be marketing and advertising. And I wanted us to get this down because we're talking, you're going to be attracting people through YouTube. You're going to be attracting people through networking. You're going to be attracting people through advertising. You're going to be attracting people through branding. You're going to be everything else from this point on is going to be attraction based. So that's why I wanted to cover this part first. Does anybody have any questions on creating your certification program?
I have one question.
Go for it, G.
The program requirements, can you just go over that one more?
Yeah, sure. So your requirements, think about, I don't know if you wrote it down, but put deliverables down. So your requirements are, let me give you the mindset first. The mindset is you don't just you want to put people in the best position possible to win, right? So everything that we provide to the one-on-ones, to why do you think I write the playbook? Why did I do the PCS map? Why do we have a Facebook group? Why do we meet weekly? I can meet, originally I was saying maybe we can meet once a month or once quarterly, and I was thinking about that originally, but it's not about. It's more about, well, what do people need? What do they need in order to win and succeed? So when you think about what they need to win and succeed, then make it a requirement that they do that, right? If they need to fill out some type of worksheet or workbook so they can get a clarity on what their goals are, they can get clarity on what their problems are, they can get clarity on, who they need to meet or certain things they need to do, make it a requirement of the program. If a, if it's a weekly training, I need you on this weekly training. If it's mentors or if you provide them with coaches, I need you to meet with your coach at least once a week. Or I need you to check in. You gotta at least check in with them weekly. Minimum at least. Hey, this is my update. Look, this is what I got. You know what? I just had a terrible week. I couldn't really do that much this week. But hey, I'm back on it. I'm thinking I'm doing some things, right? At least, so you gotta have something that they do, which is similar to deliverables, but it's not really a requirement. It's just like you have access to it, and you can do it, and you can consume it if you want, but it's not necessarily a requirement. Like, make it a requirement. When you start giving your clients expectations, when you give them expectations, they're gonna want to live up to those expectations. And we know the reason we got results and the reason we in this room and the reason we here is because we got some results in a couple places, right? We got some results. Whether your results is in experience, I work with so many different types of, coaches, people who've been through abusive relationships, people who've been through, alcoholism and everything, right? But they've made it through the other side. And if you make it through the other side, let's say if you're a substance abuse coach and you make it through the other side, well, there's certain requirements I need you to do. I can't have you real quick, because I know I can talk forever, but so at the time that we're doing this boot camp, this recording, I want to say I've been 5 years no alcohol, sober, no alcohol, right? And for me, I was I don't know if I would probably call myself maybe more like functioning. You know what I mean? Like I pretty much, when I went to college, I was the Turner King. Like, the guy you see today is not the guy that was in college. You know what I'm saying? Like the guy that I'm in a fraternity. Shout out to Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, right? You feel me? Right? And I joined other organizations. And but I was the Turner King in college. Like, I was like, yo, bottles, yo, Ciroc, yo, yo. And I had a house across the street from campus. And I had it my second year. You know how, like, if you have your own place, it's like in college, like, that's a big deal. You right across the street? What? Yo, come through, yo, have it every weekend, turn up, right? So when I graduated, I was still the Turner King. Now you starting to get more into responsibilities. That's when I started to get into my cybersecurity career, right? And so I turned up so much, I ended up catching 2 DUIs, right? Woo! And if you know, third time it's a wrap, right? 3 times you out. So, but I remember that I went to a judge, and this is the worst thing. Like, if you ever been in trouble, the worst thing you ever want is the same judge the next time you go back.
Amen.
That's the worst thing you ever want is the same judge.
He
right?
know you.
Right? So this lady, so I came back and it was the same lady, and she said, I remember you. She said, I thought I told you I don't want to see you again the last time I saw you. Like, damn, right? So now I'm like, she's gonna throw a book at me right now, right? So, but anyway, so she was like, well, I can't let you off scot-free, because it was so crazy is that I caught the second DUI within a year of the first, which is like a triple offense, right? Because you like, it's really supposed to be a certain amount of time. So she was like, well, I just can't let you go in no time. But I got an attorney, and he found like something in the paperwork, because really I was supposed to get a year in jail. So, but he found something in the paperwork, and basically I ended up getting 30 days. But I didn't have to do the 30 days straight. So,
That's the heat.
yeah, that's the heat. We might have to do something about that. Can you tell me? So with that, I didn't have to do it straight. So, Lord willing, it allowed me to do weekends, which allowed me, because I was already at that point already working in my career. And I'm like, damn, I gotta do 30 days. I don't know what kind of excuse I'm gonna have to give them. I don't know what I'm gonna have to say to try to keep my job. I'm like, I'm probably gonna lose my job, but I ended up doing weekends, and then I knocked that out. So that was so that was around like 2012, 2013, right? And so since then, I was trying to stop, and then really just about 5 years ago, when I started the PCS program, is when I stopped drinking completely. Wow. Right? So that was it. blessings.
Did you go to the AA group?
I had to do all of that. Yeah, I had to have the thing in my car and everything. I couldn't drive, none of that. It's crazy. Well, I could drive, but I didn't.
Yeah, like
If I had
blow
a drink, I had
Yeah,
to
the
blow in it.
blow when it started, right? Yeah.
So terrible. God, I hate it. So so anyway, damn, I mean, yo, I went so down the rabbit hole. I don't even go to policies. Talk about the policies and procedures. But anyway, I'll wrap it up there. That when you have your own program like this, like you really want to be locked in, and you want to make sure that for your policies and your own procedures that people are following the things that you want them to follow. Oh, that's what I was saying is that when I started, I didn't have it wasn't a certification program at first. It was just it was a regular program, but at some point it transitioned into the certification program. All right?
Yeah.
We good? You got a lot of value?
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes.
All right, so with that being said, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to figure out what's going on.